welcome to our story for today. And today I have something a little different. It's not in the category of mindfulness today. Today we're going to take an adventure with a character named Arthur Littlejohn. And along the way I'm going to ask you to pause your story and respond in a way that I've asked you to. You're going to need a piece of paper, and I'm going to ask you to fold it into 4 equal parts. And each little section that you create with the folded pieces of paper, you are going to respond to my question during the story. A paper just like this one from your home printer would do just fine. Just making sure that it's big enough that you have room to draw, and you'll just want to do what I call a hot dog fold, which is a long, narrow fold like this, making sure the corners are together, and it's a long, like a hot dog bun. So that's called a hot dog fold. And then, of course, we open it back up, and we do a hamburger fold for the other one. That's the other way of folding your paper. Make sure the corners are together. And you can use your desk to get a nice fold. But now you'll see that you have fold lines making 4 equal parts to your paper. And each time I ask you to pause the story, you're going to respond in one of the 4 boxes. And on the back, at the end of the story, you can use the whole page to make your last picture. So here we go. The story, I'm not going to tell you the title just yet because it might give something away. So the story today is written by Pauline Cartwright and illustrated by David Elliott. But we'll keep the title a secret for a few minutes. Arthur Littlejohn had been taught to be a very careful person. Even when he was a grown-up man of considerable years, he was still being so careful that he had never had an adventure. Then came the day that he found the enormous egg. Arthur felt a sudden unfamiliar fizz of excitement at the sight of it. The egg, with its silvery sheen, was lying in the pines where Arthur often went for an evening walk. Careful Arthur was going to walk right past it without even touching it. But the fizzing excitement inside him changed his mind. The egg was so big, Arthur had to put both arms around it to carry it home. So there's Arthur, and there's the nest that he found it in on his walk through nature. Now the pictures in this story are done with a colored pencil. So it's a different type of artwork, and but there's lots of little details in there. And this is the place where, in a minute, I'm going to ask you to pause the story. And in box number 1 of your paper, I would like you to draw what you think that egg looked like that he found in the woods one day. Okay, let's resume the story. Inside, he put the egg down gently on the carpet. Something would hatch from this wonderful egg, and he, Arthur Littlejohn, would be the first to know what that something was. Each day he rolled the egg very gently over by the windows where the autumn sun could stroke it with warm yellow fingers. And at the end of each day, when the edge of a frosty evening started sliding in, Arthur Littlejohn lit the fire. He rolled the egg back from the window to where the firelight could dance an orange dance on its shell. So this is going to be the second box that I ask you to draw in. And in the second box, I would like you to draw what special place you would create for that egg to be kept safe and warm until it was ready to hatch. So use box number 2 and draw the special place that you will create for that egg. All right, let's continue. Now you can see here I've got a question mark covering up part of the picture. In spite of the careful watch that Arthur kept, Arthur didn't see the egg hatch. One morning, he found that the great shell had cracked open while he had been sleeping. And there in the middle of the room stood a lizard-like creature, sky blue with silver-tipped wings and a silver-edged tail. Her eyes were a deep inky blue, and Arthur knew that she was a creature belonging to magical places. So now, before I show you what hatched out of that egg, I would like you to use box number 3 and draw what you think hatched out of that egg. All right, you should be finished drawing the picture of what you think hatched out of the egg. So now I can show you what the illustrator drew. And there is the magical creature that hatched out of the egg. That was a little bit lizard-like. Let's continue. I shall call you Amanda, said Mr. Arthur Littlejohn. The sky blue creature stared at Arthur. Then she spread her silver-tipped wings and glided onto his shoulder. There she stayed nearly all day, snuggling her snout under the lapel of his jacket when she wanted to sleep. Every day she grew bigger. You're eating a lot of fruit, Arthur said. You're eating a lot of fruit, Arthur, said the greengrocer one day. Most of the fruit is for Amanda, said Arthur. Amanda? My new pet, said Arthur proudly. I'll bring her down for you to see tomorrow. Amanda flew part of the way, and part of the way she walked behind Arthur. People couldn't believe their eyes. Will you look at that? What an incredible creature! I never would have believed it. Let me give you a closer look at the pictures. There's the market, and there's the first time that Arthur came into town with his new pet. And here's the next image. They followed Arthur and Amanda down the street and crowded around them at the greengrocer's. Amanda, who was getting too big to sit on Arthur's shoulder, flew up and sat on top of the fruit stand. Where did you get it? What are you going to do with it? What is it? It made Arthur feel very important answering all of the questions, but he didn't answer the last one. Amanda, he knew, was a dragon, a quiet and gentle dragon from magical places. Some people believed all dragons were fearsome things. I wonder what you would ask Arthur if you saw that creature. He called Amanda down so the people could softly touch the silver tips of her wings and stroke the sky blue scales on her back. A baby climbed on Amanda's back, poking at her ears. Amanda didn't mind. I think she's lovely. I'd like a pet like that myself. The townsfolk liked Amanda, and she liked them. Arthur had never had a lot of visitors, but from that day on, there was often someone climbing the hill to visit him, bringing an orange or an apple for his pet. Children came too and went for short flights on Amanda's back. When Arthur went on his way to the shops, people came out of their houses and gardens to pat his dragon pet. Would you like to take a ride on Amanda's back, or would you be too frightened? Then one morning when Arthur came downstairs, he was amazed to find that not only had Amanda doubled in size overnight, but she had become truly dragonish in another way. Small, warm flames huffed from her nostrils. "I think," said Arthur to Amanda, "that people are going to notice this." And they did. "That creature of yours," said one visitor, "is a dragon." "I know," said Arthur. "You know? Dragons are dangerous. You can't keep a dangerous pet." "She's not a dangerous pet," protested Arthur. "She's Amanda, gentle Amanda, who takes your children for rides and who lies in the sun while you stroke her back and feed her oranges." Arthur's not worried. Amanda kept growing, and soon she was too big to come into Arthur's house. He parked the car on the street so that she could sleep in the garage. When he felt lonely at night, he crept out and slept in the fold of her front legs, under her fiery snout where it was pleasantly warm. Eventually, Amanda grew so large that at night the garage door had to be left open. Her long tail stretched outside and curved comfortably around the house wall. The people who used to come and see her didn't come anymore. No one should be allowed to keep an animal like that. The fire in its nostrils is terrifying. It's become so big that when it flies about town, it shuts out all the sunlight. Arthur couldn't take Amanda down the street for walks anymore. People complained about the room she took up and that she singed the flower beds when she looked over the fences. One man complained that she had eaten his dog. Now, before I carry on with the story, that man who's complaining about eating his dog, look up there in the window. I see the dog. "She eats fruit and carrots and cheese," protested Arthur, "not dogs. She's stopped growing now, and even though she's big, she's just as gentle as she was before. You must believe me." Even when the man's dog came home, it wasn't very well behaved and had run away for a few days. People still kept talking about the terrible dragon that ate dogs, and they started wondering when it would begin to eat the people. What do you think? You think Amanda would eat people? All right. Instead of daytime walks, Arthur and Amanda now went for long flights at night over the sleeping town, swooping in and out of the clouds in the same way that a seal swoops through water. During the day, they stayed home. Neighbors wanted Arthur to put a high fence around his property. The town clerk, who needed money to repair the footpaths, was trying to get the mayor to make Arthur pay a special dragon keeping license of an exorbitant amount. Amanda hadn't done anything fearsome, but no one believed in her gentleness anymore. Finally, a long line of people carrying banners that said things like, "Keep towns for people, not dragons," and "Ban man-eating animals," delivered a petition to the council saying that no one should be allowed to keep a dragon as a pet. Now, at this point, I'm going to ask you to pause the story in a minute, and what I'd like you to add into the fourth box on your paper is, what would your sign look like if you lived in that town? Would you be carrying a sign that said, "Down with dragons, Keep towns for people, not dragons. Dragon-free zone. There's a picture of a circle with a dragon and a red line through it. No dragons. Or would you carry a sign saying dragons are okay, or Amanda is peaceful, or love Amanda? So decide what your sign would look like if you lived in this town, and use the fourth box on your paper to draw what your sign would look like. All right, now that your sign is complete, I'm going to finish the page of the story, and then I'm going to give you one more little job to do. All right. The council held a meeting and agreed to make a new law saying that the keeping of dragons was forbidden. A copy was sent to Mr. Littlejohn, and Amanda had to be gone in 10 days. Now, sometimes when citizens of a town want to suggest a change in their town, they might go about it by making signs like that. But they also might go about it by writing a letter to the mayor expressing their point of view. So I would like you to write a letter to the mayor of Arthur Littlejohn's town, and I'd like you to present your point of view. Maybe you'd like to persuade the mayor that there should be a law about dragons being allowed. Or perhaps you would like to write a persuasive letter trying to convince the mayor that the townspeople don't need to be worried, and give some reasons why there should not be a new law about Amanda. Take a minute now and write your letter. Thank you for writing your letter. I would love to be able to see it one day. Here we go. Arthur cried, "I know you have places to go, Amanda, dragonish places where you will be very happy, but I will miss you very, very much. Life with you is a wonderful adventure." Amanda turned her head to nuzzle Arthur, and suddenly, through his tears, Arthur saw that her eyes were saying, "Come with me. Come with me to a magic dragonish places where no one is frightened because of things that are big. Come with me and let life keep on being an adventure." Could I? Thought Arthur. Could I really go with her? There and then Arthur decided he would. That night they celebrated with a long soaring flight, sweeping through the stars, in and out of moonbeams, until Arthur's head spun. Sleeping late in the morning after his adventure, they didn't hear the rain begin. By the time they woke, it was pouring down rain. It kept pouring for 2 days and 2 nights, pouring and pouring so that the river running through the town began to fill with swirling muddy water. Up in the mountains, it had been raining for even longer, and down came the rainwater from the mountains, filling the river even more. Higher and higher it rose. Then, before the people of the town realized it was going to happen, over the banks came the water, pouring into the streets and poking wet fingers under their doors. There they are, trying to get away from the water, sitting on the roofs of their house. So that would be a flood, wouldn't it? Inside houses, people put couches on tables. The water kept coming. They put bookcases on top of the couches. They stacked valuable objects higher still. Then they tried wading into the high ground, but the water was getting too deep. They climbed onto rooftops and waited to be saved. Dogs were howling and chickens were squawking. The mayor leaned out of the top story of the council building and called for everyone with boats to bring them to the rescue of the town. "Amanda," said Arthur, looking down from their hilltop house, "it's time for us to help." And there they are, leaving their high hilltop house, swooping down into the town that has flooded. And when the sky blue dragon with the silver-tipped wings flew down to the town, not one person cried, "Look out for the fierce dragon!" Instead, they called, "Amanda! Save us, Amanda!" And that is just what Amanda did. People climbed on her back and sat in rows. She flew them, one load after another, to Arthur's hilltop home, where the floodwaters couldn't reach them. Some slept in Arthur's house, some in the neighbors' houses, and some made shelters in the pines. There they stayed until the rain stopped and the waters went down. Arthur had been given 10 days to remove Amanda from the town, and by the time the floodwaters had receded, that means to go down, and Amanda had been up and down the streets breathing warm dragon flames to help dry out the houses, the townsfolk were back in their homes, cozy and dry again. Realizing how foolish they had been, they began visiting Arthur and Amanda again, bringing fruit and carrots. So it was that a group of visitors came upon Arthur clutching a suitcase in one hand and about to climb on Amanda's back. They couldn't see that his house was firmly locked up. "Where are you going?" they asked in surprise. "The law in this town forbids dragons, so Amanda is leaving and I am going too. We are flying far away to magic dragonish places where no one is frightened because things are big." In the excitement of floods and dragon rescues and house cleaning, the people had forgotten about the law they had forced the council to make, and they were ashamed. "Please don't go. The law says Amanda must," said Arthur. "I want to be with her." He climbed on the dragon's back. "You could ask the council to change the law, and then we could come back for visits." "We could," cried the people. "We could." A little man at the back suddenly said, "I don't know if that would be wise. Some dragons are fierce, you know. We should be careful about these things." "Oh, indeed," said Arthur, although the people were too busy arguing to hear him. "You need to be careful." He looked at the little man and thought he didn't look very much unlike himself. "But don't be too careful," Arthur added. "Not too careful." Remember, at the beginning of the story, Arthur was not really someone who liked to take adventures. I think he's learned to change his mind about that. He settled himself more comfortably on Amanda's back, and off they flew while the people argued. High into the sky they flew, beyond all the yesterdays and into the edges of tomorrow, to magic dragonish places where adventures happen at least once a week. Now that's the end of the story, but now I would like you to turn your paper over to the other side, and you could turn it this way or this way, and I'd like you to draw a picture of an adventure that you think Mr. Littlejohn and Amanda had in magic dragonish places. What did they see? What did it look like? Where did they soar to? Use your imagination. What kind of adventure do you think you could go on with a beautiful dragon like Amanda? I hope you've enjoyed
enjoyed our telling of the story Arthur and the Dragon. Now I can show you what the cover looks like. Now it won't give away your thoughts and your imagination before you could see it. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the activities along the way, and it gave you a chance to think about a story in a different way and do some fun things along the way as well. Share your thoughts. See if people in your household maybe would do it differently or have a different idea of what the dragon would look like. Or perhaps they might have a different point of view about whether Amanda should be saved or banned from the town. Compare your thoughts with someone in your house. I hope you enjoyed the story. Have a great day, everyone.